have now joining us Assemblymember Ash Collarell. Welcome to our Organized Voices podcast, our first episode on police reform. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on your first episode. I'm honored.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Clear. Just so we're clear though, if you have that idea of whoever else I'm with you all the way on the abolishment of it. I'm just a little bit, just curious as to what would be the alternative of, because sometimes when there isn't a plan for what the vacuum of that's going to be, you end up in chaos. So that's just because I can't figure that out. But if you had the answer and it sounded good and with the way you explain it, I'd be right there championing whatever you was talking about.
I hear you. That's always the fear. I don't pretend to have the answers, but I don't think we could get to the answers until we're past this shit. Because while this is like what's in our mind as the answer, you conceive of, you know what I mean? Like, I agree, create solution. Yeah. And right now we think that putting these fucking armed cops on the streets is the answer. And I think we'll get somewhere else, but smarter minds than me are going to have to get us there.
I agree.
So Ash, sorry to have you join in at a very heated.
No, I love it. I can just sit here and listen. This is great.
Yeah, no, but I just want to point out, Ash was my public defender in 2006 when I caught my first and only felony case, and he's been the reason, and a motivator to bring me to where I am today. So I just want to give you the warmest thank you for everything you've done for me to inspire me, and you still remain a hero of mine to this day for standing for the people and for caring about racial inequality. You've been public defender to city council to first Indian American elected to state office. I'm so proud to have you join us. Thank you, for everything you do. But talk to us about what's going on right now, just to warm up, and then we want to get into your bills.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for those kind words. And you're the one that did it. I didn't do your great journey is your journey. I'm lucky that I played a part in it, but you've earned every single bit of where you are and where you're going to go. And so, and speaking of the National Lawyers Guild, I was just on a conversation earlier today with about 45, 50 or so of my local constituents that are part of different groups.
Yeah.
South Bay Progressive Alliance, indivisible groups, the Socialist Democrats of America, Democratic Party, kind of a lot of folks are very concerned with what's happening, particularly in the streets here in San Jose. And I mention that because one of my dear friends, Ruth Silver Tobe, is someone I work very closely on labor issues. Yeah. And she's also a legal observer and saw all the stuff that was happening here in San Jose, similar to stuff that's been happening in a lot of the urban areas in terms of militarization and kind of that warlike response to what's going on and the concerns that it brings up. But I mention that because this is really, I think, and I mentioned this when I talk about COVID, that COVID is exposing, it's not creating inequities, it's exposing inequities that already exist and have existed for a long time, especially in places like Silicon Valley with the extreme income inequality. And similarly, the current, of kind of Black liberation uprising that's happening because of the torture and murder of George Floyd, as all of you know, is not created these issues, it's exposing them. And in a good way, it's exposing them to a whole lot of people that either didn't know about it or didn't take it seriously. They may have heard like, yeah, I know this issue happens, but I didn't think it was that bad, right? And so I think there's a great opportunity, certainly we're seeing here in San Jose in terms of not just immediate accountability of what's happening, in terms of how the police are responding to protests or the quick fixes that are being offered, but you're seeing like even with some of these kind of suburban folks that are pretty well off here in San Jose, they're not having it. It's actually quite amazing to see that they want more, that they're not accepting just the knee-jerk response from City Hall or from the police department. I've never seen that before. It's a very exciting time, as you mentioned, having worked as a public defender for 11 years and now in my, what is this, my 12th year in elected office, I never thought we'd get to this. In fact, even before this, the last couple of years, getting rid of the felony murder, getting rid of 3-year drug sales prior, getting the 1-year prison prior, making the 5-year discretionary, and on and on and on. when I was a public, I never would have imagined that any of that would have been happening, let alone what we're seeing now in the streets, the movement that can push us even further, where you have Gavin, in a good way, proposing closing a prison down, and then almost instantaneously when we get hit with the budget, and then we because of COVID, and then you have Black Lives Matter in the streets, now it's going to be 2 prisons, right?
Yeah.
It's just like the momentum is here in a way that we just haven't seen before. At least I haven't seen in the 24 years I've been working in the industry.
Can I ask you, like, can you tell me more about how your colleagues have changed their perspective since, let's say, pre-corona and George Floyd to now? Because it seems like even like from the celebrity NFL perspective, like more people, as you said, that were not really saying anything are kind of saying things. So do you see that push also in with your colleagues, or are they still kind of on the fence? If you could speak on that.
I think it's a mix. I think that every one of my colleagues is definitely recognizing, it's hard not to, what's happening in the streets and what have you. But that doesn't always translate to what happens in the building. And I know Elizabeth knows this, like, it doesn't always work out that way, that people will show up for marches or for photo ops. And I think that there's more, right now, it's far more genuine than that. I think people really are concerned. They're really, empathizing with what's happening in the community. I think it's along a spectrum, though, as to those colleagues that are willing to do something about it. Now, there's a number of my colleagues that have been very great on criminal justice reform and what have you. And in fact, we just got a vote to bring back to the ballot overturning Prop 209 to bring back affirmative action. We got 60 votes on the assembly floor out of 78 people that were there. Do I think it would have gotten 60 votes 2 or 3 months ago? Probably not.
Yeah.
So I think that there's no doubt that there is an impact that's happening. We had a vote on examining reparations, which was an overwhelming vote, a bipartisan vote. Would it have passed before? Probably. I think certainly would it have gotten as many votes. But the key is long-term, meaningful fixes. Are my colleagues, our city council members, folks in Congress, whatever, are they down for the long haul? And that's what is yet to be seen.
Does your guys' like the way that you guys have to